Sure, HP's Omen brand did have some high-end options in the past, but compared to what the competition had on offer, they have not quite been able to keep up when it comes to performance or regarding overall features and build quality. But it's 2025 and things can change, and with the all-new Omen Max 16, they've put together an excellent high-end gaming laptop featuring up to RTX 5090 graphics, competing with the likes of ROG Strix and Scar notebooks, or even something like the excellent Legion Pro 7. And thanks to the sleek and actually quite compact chassis, considering the performance you can get out of this one, the Omen could also make for a pretty good mobile workstation. So it looks like HP is not only able to compete in the realm of super fast but also super expensive high performance laptops, but maybe, just maybe, they might even have pulled off one of the very best options in the space. Let's get into it. Alright, let's talk specs, and we have been able to test two samples of the Omen Max, and while most of our data will be from the top of the line RTX 5090 config, this one right here is the 5080 SKU, and I did some additional benchmarks so you can get a rough idea of what the difference will be between the two GPUs. Apart from the graphics cards here, which do run at up to 175 watts, both laptops bet on the same Intel Core Ultra 275HX and came equipped with 32 gigs of RAM. And while our 5080 model also had to make do with half the storage, the biggest differentiator here is their respective displays. So the 5090 Omen gets a glossy 240 Hz OLED, while this one right here swaps the self-emitting panel tag for a good old IPS with a matte coating. As per usual, the price difference between Nvidia's high-end mobile GPUs is pretty massive, at least over here in Germany, while I would call it almost reasonable when customizing the Omen Max in the US, and the 5080 SKU is also priced very attractively right from the get-go. When it comes to the overall design language of HP's gaming division, I have always quite liked what they put together, and especially the 2024 Omen 14 was a very nice and neat looking machine. So I think it's great to basically take that one, scale it up to accommodate the larger screen and give it some heft to properly cool the power-hungry core components. What you get from that is a still relatively compact 16-inch laptop with very subtle branding, but some very nice design tidbits, like the wide-rimmed keycaps that give the 16-incher a pretty unique appearance without being over the top. Overall material quality and rigidity are also excellent, and both the display lid and bottom cover are made from aluminium, while the palm rest is recycled plastic, which really does not hurt the Omen's overall quality feel. The Max 16 feels reassuringly solid and premium, which you would expect given the price tag here. That said, the hinges feel a bit too loose for me personally and cannot quite keep the panel from wobbling when adjusting everything to your desired angle. I/O is very generous and placed very well all around the matte black chassis, and contrary to almost all other brands putting all the ports on the sides, the Omen moves the bigger connectors like the HDMI 2.1, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, a USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 and the power connector to the back, while the right side houses a single USB-A in a pretty convenient spot for your wireless dongles. On the left you get your mic audio combo port and a pair of Thunderbolt 5s, which should have you covered for pretty much everything, while the placement also allows for a pretty clean setup overall. Wireless transfer rates are pretty average, which also holds true for the 2 megapixel webcam, which unfortunately only offers typical gaming laptop quality. And below the bottom panel you got your typical upgrade options with a pair of SODIMMs and NVMe slots. When it comes to inputs, again, I really like this keyboard, and not just because it looks absolutely awesome, but with a decent amount of travel and good overall tactility, it feels the part as well. The trackpad also does not disappoint, offering smooth tracking and navigation along with a subtle click and a generous overall surface area. In the display department, our 5090 Omen offers pretty much the same experience as the Razer Blade 16 and the Zephyrus G16 for example, and I would assume we are talking about a similar, if not even the same panel here. So while contrast and color gamut coverage is as awesome as ever when we talk about OLEDs, overall brightness lags a little, especially when comparing this display to what the Legion Pro 7 has on offer. Factory calibration could also be improved, although we have been able to get more from the panel with manual calibration. The IPS panel also does not disappoint, but can of course not quite keep up with the OLED when it comes to eye candy, but it gets considerably brighter, you do not have to deal with PWM, and if you rather want to see your content than yourself and being outside or in a brightly lit room, you might also appreciate the matte coating. That said, it doesn't stand a chance when it comes to overall response times, even though it's not bad for an IPS either, and color gamuts also just cover sRGB, which is a bit of a bummer, especially considering the price point here. Alright, let's talk performance, and let's see if the Omen can not only compete when it comes to looks and style, but also with what it offers under the hood here. Before we get into it, we tested this one in its performance mode, and as per usual, HP also offers a management application to interact and personalize your laptop. And HP, please, when I open your software to change my performance mode or RGB lighting, I do not want to be greeted with a storefront-like starting screen that asks me to perform a few additional clicks before I even get to my personal machine. But let's circle back to our numbers and our CPU rating, a collection of benchmarks putting the Core Ultra 275HX through its paces in both single and multi-core loads gets us pretty average results, in line with the Alienware Area 51 we tested recently, for example, while the Legion Pro 7 or the ROG Strix and Scar offerings are a little bit ahead. And during our noise samples in a little bit, we will see that maintaining full CPU loads with high power levels and decent temps is not quite the Omen's strong suit. But again, more about that later. In our PCMark system performance tests, the Omen performs according to the competition, and even subjectively, you should hardly find anything you can't do with the HP, even for workloads beyond gaming, aided by stable and snappy SSD transfers. Which leaves us with our GPU results. And how about we start with our synthetics and let's see if the premium you will have to pay for the 5090 is worth it. Firestrike paints the usual picture, and pretty much all of the high-end 60 inches we have tested so far give us the same results, no matter if they bet on a 5080 or a 5090. In more GPU-bound scenarios, as shown by Temps, our scores spread out a bit more, and while the 5080 Omen is offering pretty much what we can expect from a 5080, the 5090 HP is sitting on top here, even though it's just by a little bit. Moving over to the real world, and I used Cyberpunk and Assassin's Creed Shadows as a point of comparison here. And starting with CD Projekt Red's RPG, we do get quite a decent boost from the 5090 already, even in Full HD, and in QHD the higher-end Omen Max is once again one of the fastest 5090 laptops we have tested so far in 2025. Ubisoft's latest open-world adventure tells a bit of a different story though, and while we see the usual difference in Full HD between the two GPUs, they are tied in QHD. Just keep in mind that we tested both models a few weeks apart and with different drivers, so that might also be a bit of a factor here. To give you a bit more insight for the 5090 model, these are all the games we tested in Full HD, QHD and 4K, and as you can see, even 4K, if you own a suitable display, is not a problem for the sleek 16-incher, and especially considering that we are talking native results here, so you can easily boost your FPS with DLSS and MFG in supported titles. In terms of fan noise, the Omen Max offers the typical behavior of modern gaming laptops, so if you want to get the most out of it in performance, better have your headphones at the ready, while the balance setting is a lot more reasonable. Please enjoy our noise samples for a more subjective impression, and if you want to get some additional info about stress test behavior, power levels and things like external and internal temperatures, please head over to our written review. We have a lot more data for this one. As a bit of a novelty, the Omen also allows you to reverse the airflow to blow out any dust that might have accumulated over time, which I think is a pretty neat idea. Battery life for the 16-incher is alright, if maybe a bit below the average we have so far seen for this hardware combination, and most of the high-end competition is able to squeeze a bit more juice out of their batteries, even though HP bets on the smallest battery of the bunch, so that is a major disadvantage right from the get-go. Our 5080 SKU has the benefit of the more efficient IPS panel here and can improve things quite considerably and even beats most of the competition. So this one right here might be your best option when looking for performance and endurance. Alright folks, that's about it for today. When it comes to the HP Omen Max 16, you could say that it is your typical gaming laptop, which is fast, but also gets loud and is quite expensive. But that would really not do it justice. First of all, compared to the competition, especially my model right here with the 5080 and the IPS is actually priced quite reasonable for what you are getting. And at least in the US, the premium you will have to pay for the OLED and the 5090 is also not quite as outrageous as with other companies. I'm looking at you, ASUS. In addition, the powerful internals are wrapped in a subtle looking and well-made chassis. You get a ton of ports, I love this keyboard, and in general the 16-incher does not come with any major disadvantages. So if you're looking for a high-end gaming laptop or maybe even a content creator workstation that you can take to a meeting, you might want to keep this one on your shortlist. But let me know what you think, and let us also know which premium 16-incher we might have missed for 2025. And if you want to catch up about what we had to say about the competition, please check out the corresponding videos. That would be all from my end today. Please leave a like and sub on your way out. Thanks a ton for watching. My name is Alex, you have been fantastic as always, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Take care.